Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. In today's video, we're going to do Director Spotlight number 12, where we're going to take a look at 12 movies from Antoine Fuqua, one of my favorite directors. You'll see his filmography here is very, very impressive. There's really no duds here. Some movies are better than others as we getting ready to take a look at, but his filmography is very impressive. And Antoine Fuqua, for those of you who do not know, he started off his career shooting rap, not just rap, but music videos in general. He started off doing music videos. He actually went to school to be an electrician, and one day he wanted to actually fly military jets, but he ended up directing music videos and went on to directing movies, and he's become a very talented director in the movie industry. So let's dive in and take a look at 12 films from Antoine Fuqua, and you'll see that a lot of his films is got a lot of Denzel. Denzel collaborated with Fuqua on many films. So let's take a look. Starting with 2021's Infinite. This is a movie that I liked. I enjoyed. What I like about this movie is this is a very effects-heavy movie. But I'm okay with that because of the type of movie it is. I really dug this one. The critics panned it a little bit, but I liked it. The story wasn't as tight as it should have been, but this one to me is just eye candy. I really like this movie. And I was tempted to get this one on 4K, but this Blu-ray came across my lap cheap where I couldn't say no. So here, Infinite. And this is an example of a movie that came out on streaming first, but was released on physical. You know, when it comes to streaming originals being released, they're getting a little bit better with that, but still, there's still a lot of streaming gems that we can't get physically unless you're willing to go the bootleg route. But here's an example of one that was released on Blu-ray and 4K. Next up is now, again, like I said before, I'm not a super duper fan of The Man, but his movies, I can't deny he got some really, really good movies. We're talking about Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, 07's Shooter. This is a really good movie. I enjoyed it. Me personally, this is one of my favorite Wahlberg movies. Again, like I said before, I don't like him, but he do got some good movies. Whoever his agent is, his manager is, they really know how to pick good scripts that works well for his talent level. I rarely see him miscast. Again, in my opinion, he's not the world's greatest actor, but you won't know that because he picked movies that really fit his acting style. Next up, we have 1998's The Replacement Killers. This was a rock-solid movie. I enjoyed it. Not a whole lot to say on that one. It was a good movie. Not one of my favorites, but it was good. Here's a movie that Jake Gyllenhaal, Forrest Whitaker, and Rachel McAdams, and Southpaw. This movie right here, this is a banger. This is definitely one of Fuqua's best. I'm trying to tell you, this is a banger. To me, this is one of his best movies that don't star Denzel, because most of his movies got Denzel Washington. We're going to see in a minute. Well, not most. It's probably a good balance. Maybe Fuqua, if I'm not mistaken, I can think off the top 19 movies in his filmography, and I don't think it's really too much more than that in his entire filmography. If he has over 20, it's like 21 or 22 movies, but he has a shorter, more condensed, high-quality filmography than a lot of others, because although his filmography is kind of small, I would say, like, out of his entire filmography, it's like 90% banging. So that's impressive. Southpaw. Next up, we're going to go into 2014's The Equalizer. Man, you got a whole trilogy out of this bad boy. This was a banger. This is, out of the whole trilogy, I like this the best. Like with most trilogies, I like the first one the best. But there's been some surprises where the second or third movie is better than the first. But this is one where the first movie is definitely the best one. Then we go to 2018's EQ2. I call this the EQ trilogy. We go into Equalizer 2. It was all right. It wasn't bad. It wasn't better than the first one. So, yeah, EQ2. Then we move up to EQ3. Again, not better than the first one, but still good. And I really thought that Denzel was pretty much too old for this one. I thought he was kind of old for the second one. But with the way this movie played out, introducing the girl into it. I'm hoping that we get at least one more with him and her paired up on a case together. That will be interesting to see. You know, that would be very interesting to see. Him and Dakota Fanning coming back to do another Equalizer movie, because this was actually a good movie, and I like the way they brought her in. I really do like how they did that. Next up, we have '01's, and this is the movie probably that most people who is a fan of Antoine Fuqua will, this is their go-to Fuqua. When you mention Fuqua, this is the go-to movie, and that's Training Day. Training Day is a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's masterful in its storytelling. It's just, this movie is so well paced. The acting is on point. The story is on point. Everything about this movie is on point. This movie is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. 10 out of 10. Denzel and Ethan Hawke, they killed it in this one. All three of these movies are good, but we're talking about the one that Fuqua did. Really good movie. Next up, we have a remake that a lot of people, I'm going to say, from what I heard, the fan base is split on this one. So, there's a group of people who liked it. Then there's a group who didn't like it. Then there's that stupid group who, you know, the stupid group that gets offended when a character gets regendered. They get uptight when a casket, they get it's a gender swap. And then you got the real ignorant ones who go off the deep end when there's a race swap that they don't like. And we're talking about Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, and a host of others. They couldn't even list them all up here, but a host of others. We have the Magnificent Seven remake. Banging remake. I liked it. I'm not going to say I liked it better than the original, but I like this movie. I think Denzel Washington as Chisholm was a good choice. I don't care what nobody say. I am definitely not against race swaps and gender swaps, but it got to make sense. You just can't race swap and gender swap and the shit don't make sense. I could think of a few that didn't make sense, and I could think of a few that made good sense. This was a good choice. It was a good choice. Daredevil, Kingpin, Michael Clark Duncan being recast as Kingpin. I mean, being race swapped as Kingpin. That was a good choice. I can think of plenty of race swaps and gender swaps that made sense, and some just like, what the fuck was you thinking? But this was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Next up, we have, and this, I do believe this was the first movie that Wesley Snipes did after he got out of jail from his tax evasion case. We got Richard Gere, Don Cheadle, Ethan Hawke, and Wesley Snipes in Brooklyn's Finest. This was a decent movie. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was decent. This is a banger right here, and this actually started a trilogy. So Fuqua he's behind 2 trilogies, which is pretty good for a guy who's got about, like I said, I know of 19 movies in his filmography. I know of 19. And if he got more than that, it's probably about, I would say, no more than 22. We got Gerard Butler, Aaron Eckhart, and Morgan Freeman in Olympus Has Fallen. Banging movie. And I actually like the 2 movies. I like all 3 movies in the series. This being my favorite, but I do like all 3 movies in the series, and I'm hoping to see a 4th movie in the series. So yes, really good. This is a war movie starring Bruce Willis. We have Tears of the Sun. I like this movie. Again, to me, it's not high on my list of good war movies, but it's a decent enough war movie. I enjoyed this one. I think it's a good watch, and if you're in the mood for a war movie that you never heard of or you haven't really seen in a while, this is a good one to just pull out if you got it in your collection. It's a good watch. That's all I'm going to say. It's not, again, like I said, it's not the best, but it's a good, solid watch. None of these Antoine Fuqua movies are bad. None of them. Like I said, he has a more tightly packed filmography than a lot of other directors, but what he has is really good. Tears of the Sun came out in 2003. Olympus Has Fallen came out in 2013. Brooklyn's Finest came out in 2009. The Magnificent Seven came out in 2016. Training Day came out in 2001. And then I think I gave the years for the EQ3, which came out in 2023. So this is the newest movie. Yeah, this is the newest movie here. We got EQ2 from 2018. EQ1 from 2014. Southpaw from 2015. The Replacement Killers from 98. Shooter from 2007. And Infinite from 21. Those are 12 movies in my collection from a very, very talented director, Antoine Fuqua. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.